Welcome back, folks. The Chiefs offense could even be better in 2022 for two reasons. We're going to go over them tonight live on Chiefs Breakdown here on RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. Chiefs Kingdom and around the league, around the world. Hope you're all doing well. This is where we talk about Chiefs. This is Chiefs Breakdown, Sunday nights, live this time, live all season long when we're in season, and kind of shifts back and forth during the offseason. But tonight we're live, had a lot going on. Hope you guys are doing well. And I know there's a lot of anticipation in Chiefs Kingdom. We're going to go over that tonight. I'm Ryan Tracy, founder of Rogue Analytics, as well as this channel on NFL 33, and I'm the host on Locked On Chiefs and Locked On NFL Draft. This is me going rogue. That's what RGR is, Ryan going rogue. Liz is in the house tonight, our fearless moderator, along with her husband. It's a nice husband and wife team that runs the chat around here and does a great job doing it. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate you very much. I want to say hi to everybody. Oh, look, Finn's back. I like that. We're going to talk briefly tonight about where this team is. And the fact that everybody around the league is underestimating the Chiefs, just like they always do this time of year. Yes, that's fine. But it's even more than that. It's even some of the quote-unquote media in Kansas City, they're underestimating this team. And honestly, we should know better by now. And it has to be something we have to talk about the greater good and what could come of the necessity of having to change things and forcing Andy Reid to put in another evolution of what he's doing, and Steve Spagnuolo to put another evolution of what he's doing into the books. There's a lot of facets of it, but it could end up with a better product than we saw in the field last season. And that's going to be incredibly important because, as we all know, it's one thing to get back to the AFC Championship. That's obviously a goal. Super Bowl is the goal at the end of the day. Every season for this team, anytime you have one Patrick Mahomes listed as your starting quarterback. So there's a lot to it. Now, for those of you that are new, I'm Ryan. I'm a former strength and conditioning and performance coach. I run Rogue Analytics, and that is performance and production across the league. I do consulting, all kinds of things. And this is kind of my outlet. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like this video. Make sure you sub to the channel, and make sure you click that bell so you find out when new things come out, like these live streams and that kind of thing. And being that it's summertime and I have family commitments, sometimes I record, sometimes these are live, and this just happens to be live tonight. A lot of our friends, look, both the Morrows are in the house. That's awesome. Chris Weeks, welcome. Steve's here. We might see Stevie and Gooch. You're going to see them later in this week on Friday for the Rogue Head Huddle. That is their show on Fridays. And tonight, really the thing that I think's gone under the radar, and there's all kinds of talk about the departure of Tyreek Hill, and obviously Tyreek's not above raising some eyebrows to try to get a fake podcast going or something like that. Tyreek, there's more to potting than the everyday grind. I'm just going to tell you, I've been doing this a long time, buddy. Don't let that bother you, because quite frankly, I think Tyreek made his business decision for his business decision. Now you get the backside of that is, there is a different world not playing for Andy Reid and not playing with Patrick Mahomes. And so there's a little bit of back and forth there. I'm not going to say I know his reasoning, but I'm not going to be surprised if it's more hype than it is substance. But that got me thinking. A lot of folks are on the fence about what's this offense going to be? How are they going to do this without Tyreek Hill? And I'm just going to take you back to the fact that this offense runs in a number of ways. And it has in the past, certainly with the deep threat, with the incredible athletic threat that Tyreek Hill has been. I think it actually got them away from what they need to do last season, a touch the season before. Basically from the Super Bowl forward, it's been a little bit like, we have the thing, we have the formula, and I thought the creativity had gone down. And I think that's on Andy Reid. And I think that is one thing, probably the number one thing that has been not talked about enough this particular offseason is the creativity part of the offensive side of the ball. We'll talk about the defense here coming up a little bit too. And I will take a couple of questions at the end, you guys. If you want to support the channel, go get a shirt or something in the RGR store. It's in the description of this video. You can hit us with a super chat tonight. I will answer every super chat, and I'll try to answer a few other questions tonight as well. This isn't The long form tomorrow night is the general Q&A where all we do is answer your questions. And if you guys missed out on last Thursday's session of Chief in the North, it wasn't just me and Seth. Dan was there too, and the three of us went through all kinds of topics. So make sure you go back and check that out. It's there on the channel. Now, that said, the creativity part, I think, needs a little bit of boost. And I think it's almost you want to get the ball into Tyreek Hill's hands as much as you want last season. That makes all the sense in the world. But it becomes a little bit too predictable, or a little bit too about focusing in on how to maximize that player. Obviously with Travis Kelce as well, two-pronged attack, right? I think it lets some things fall apart outside of that. And I think the thing that's been missed so far this offseason is the fact that Matt Nagy is back. And I think people have forgotten about Matt's contribution early and what he's brought to the Chiefs offense with Alex in particular, but a little bit with Patrick as well. And I think that's the big thing, is it's not necessarily the Reed Mahomes thing, because we know that that's magic and we know that that works. And we know that Patrick is an extension of Andy on the field, and they have the kind of relationship where they see things the same way. And that can be, boom, Patrick sees it, Andy would have done the same thing. But the other part is the setup, the play design, the pre-snap look of what you're A, trying to accomplish in what you're running, and B, what you're trying to show the team, the defense, to psych them out and get them out of position. I think a lot of that was aided in the Alex years by Matt Nagy. And I think that's a big contribution. Now, the roles were flipped back then. Matt Nagy was the offense coordinator, and Eric Bieniemy was the running backs coach. So it's still a three-headed monster, but now it's a little bit different, where I think it allows Matt Nagy to kind of slough off all the drama from Chicago. Clearly, it's tough being a head coach in this league. I think he figured that out. And everybody has an aspiration to be a head coach. If you're in the coaching profession, you see yourself as a head coach. If you don't, get out of that profession. That's pretty much that straightforward. But I think for Matt, it allows him to kind of take a breath and reset and let him get back to what he was brought up on, what he contributed to this team and other offenses in the past. And that is the creativity part of it. And I don't mean just pop passes here or inside handoffs there. I mean like true creativity, because it's not just trying to be creative with one or two players. It's not just how do we get the ball to Travis in a weird way. It's not just how do we use Tyreek Hill's unique ability in something different that the defense doesn't expect. It's about how do we make MVS the best that he's ever been by asking him to do things he wasn't asked to do in Green Bay. It's about how do we take advantage of the power that Juju plays with in contact. How do we let him get the ball in a way that allows him to get yak in a more efficient manner? How do we go about distracting everyone from Sky Moore and let the rookie have a little bit of breathing room, which we all know he does very well with when he's in the open field? How do we make McCole Hardman our number one threat? That's the big question. I think all these things come back to the creativity of the offense, creativity of the motions, the patterns that they're running, and the timing of it specifically. And that is where Patrick comes into it. And what I've been thinking a lot about this weekend is I've been going through, if those of you who don't know, my house has gone to sale. Like, I'm looking for a new home, all kinds of these things. Like, my family and I, just in our internal workings, we're thinking about, okay, how are we going to change the way we do X, Y, or Z? How are we going to change the way we run as an offense? And that got me thinking about these guys getting back in the room together, having more weapons, not just, hey, we have to get Tyreek number of touches this way, and we have to get Travis in these particular situations because that's where he's best. It's getting all four of the wide receivers that you know can be weapons for you, including Sky Moore. It's about how do we then use all of them to take the pressure off of Travis and give him some breathing room in the middle or in the seam. How do we get creative with different formations, double tights in stacks, triple tights at time, because Travis is 32 years old. You need to help him out a little bit. And I think that's where the creativity of Matt Nagy is really going to come in. Not as though Matt Nagy's this offensive genius, but he is a great complement to Andy and to Eric Bieniemy and to Patrick Mahomes. And that's where it's got to be all systems go down the line. Do what you're going to do, however you're going to do it, however crazy it looks, whatever you're going to do, but get it done. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. So I want to throw a couple of things up here. If you guys would hit the like on this one, Aaron's absolutely right. Love having both of you guys in here, by the way. Check out Sean's channel. Big Chief Sean is one of our contributors, but he's got his own channel too. You want to do that. You want to go over, make sure, is this the one? Oh, yeah. Grab the draft guide if you want more in-depth information on those guys. And then make sure you get on Back Talk Bros, because Aaron, Stevie, and Gooch are doing their own thing, a little bit more brash, a little bit more unfiltered, on their own space. And I know a lot of you guys love what they do. Go support them and click on their channel, get subbed over there as well. That said, shout out to Cole. Had a great conversation this week, and I like how things sometimes end up being the same around YouTube, because it's kind of a beast of its own volition. And good to talk with you, Cole. Folks, I know you know Cole's How About Them Chiefs channel. Make sure you watch that as well. Just kind of checking in. I know, Lolip, you got a question. I'm going to stack a couple here. We'll get to those in just a minute, because it's about, I think, without going to the Super Bowl, without those extra 3 weeks of time, I think the team's gotten to reset. Patrick running these offseason workouts with the wide receivers. That's a luxury he didn't have last season, A, because of the injury, but also because of the extended timeline, right? So that's an advantage. It's also with Matt Nagy in the house. How can they put it all together? And I think the fact that you saw Patrick go play in the match and take 2 days off of practice and that kind of stuff, I think that tells you that they feel really comfortable with where they are in terms of where they're going to go and how they're evolving this offense. That's really key to me. And that's the thing that's got my wheels kind of turning about, okay, so they know where they're going. They know what they're doing. They've had the brainstorming sessions already. They have concepts of how they're going to change yet again. I think it goes back to, and you guys heard me say this before Patrick confirmed it, they have to go back to spreading the ball around. And then that becomes, okay, we're going to be creative in this way to help MVS. We're going to be creative in this way to help Juju. We're going to rely on McColl to not just be the field stretcher that he is, but to do more and to take that next step. And if something goes wrong with any of those plans, then we have Sky Moore and we have ways to adapt. And I think that's all figured out. And then there'll be the daily, weekly things that they just come up with plays on the practice field, and boom, next thing you know, they're in the play game plan. That's the stuff I won't know till it happens, and I look forward to that. But on the other side, I think what you heard from Steve Spagnuolo last week, and if you haven't seen it, go watch the assistant coaches. The Chiefs put it out. Kudos to them. They actually put it out on their social media and on not only their site, but their YouTube channel. So you can actually hear from the guys that are evaluating and designing all this stuff for the new team this year. And every team is new every year. That's kind of the way that it works. So like, take that with a grain of salt, but you get to hear from them as well. And I think what Steve Spagnuolo is really outlining is that in the end, they wanted good players, but they wanted good players that fit what they want in terms of character and drive in particular. That's what stood out to me, especially when he spoke about George Karlaftis. We want guys that get it, that have the enthusiasm, that have the desire. I think you've seen that fall off in a couple of spaces over the last years in Kansas City with some of the older veterans that don't have that fire as much anymore. I think that's got to change. George will be one. I think Trent McDuffie will be another. I know Brian Cook will be one. And I think Leo's going to be a nice addition as well. And that's just 4. There's plenty more there. Really like the things that they confirmed. I'm going to give you guys some quick shouts this week and some small videos about some of the things that are really adding up to either confirming what I've already told you or showing you that, hey, they might be going a little bit in a different direction. There's plenty there that we can pick from. And you got to kind of understand how not just to interpret coach speak, but what coaches mean that way. And there's little things hidden in there. I'm going to walk through some of that for you guys this week as well as we go through. But on the defensive side, it's got to be not just going back and staying true to Steve Spagnuolo's traditional wants, desires, and patterns, right? He's got to be able to evolve. The good thing is that Steve likes to blitz from a number of different layers. I really, truly hope that he does open that up to the linebacker level, because he's got 3 guys that can blitz really well, and I hope that he explores that. But also about how they're going to play. He talks about, and you can hear it in his voice, about how good they feel McDuffie's going to be, but that he is an outlier from what they usually do. They talk about length with L'Jarius and Lonnie Johnson and Josh Williams. They talk about the things that they normally like to do. And then in the same breath, but hey, Trent is this, and he's really going to fit in. He's really going to help us. Like, so you can see that everybody has their wants, right? I married a redhead. I'm into redheads. It's cool. But every now and then I dated a brunette before I was married. That stuff happens. Everybody's got their thing, but you need a little spice from time to time. Trey McDuffie's going to be the spice because he can play in space nearly as good as anybody in that draft. And I really like what that gives them as options for the defense. Yes, they're going to have to be creative to get pressure. There's no way around that. Karlaftis and his motor will be great, but it can't be all of it. That won't get it done, one guy's motor. It's got to be an uptick from Frank Clark. It's got to be more blitzing and less predictable blitzing. It's got to be the Joe Cullens in the house and Coach Cullen to change the way and the things that they do in setting up their stunt game. Because I think their stunt game has to take a step forward. I don't think there's any way around that in order to be successful in this coming season. There's a lot going on there. For me, it comes back to you can't be reliant on what you've done in the past. You can't be reliant on Frank Clark to be a pass rush leader. He's proven, unfortunately, that that's not in the cards. Maybe this last go around, because this is his last season. He knows it. We know it. Everybody knows it. Maybe he picks it up. Maybe with a young kid across from him, maybe he picks it up. Let's see. Let's see if he's still got that. See if he's still got the edge that he came to town with and claims to have in his soul. Let's see it on the field. Maybe that happens. But you got to do something to help somebody else. You got to make sure that Chris Jones is able to stay clean. I think Karlaftis in particular is going to really enjoy not being double teamed every 5 seconds, but hopefully he gets to the point where he can take some off of Chris Jones, because I think that's going to be important as well. You got to be able to move it around. You got to be able to shift it around. And again, creativity on that side, going back to some of the NASCAR concepts, going back to the stunt game that I think they've gotten away from the last couple of years. That's going to be critical. So it's new, like the thumbnail for this video said, it's new, but it's also old. Like it's a revisiting of things that you've done in years past with a new twist on it. So it is new, but it's also a proven concept that changes things up and makes it harder on opposing coordinators. That's the key. It's not necessarily the players. Players are going to execute because they've seen enough. They're in the thick of it. It's about outsmarting the other coordinators so they don't have the right personnel on the field. They don't have the right concepts in play. You got to beat the coordinators. I think that's the big difference this year. I think it got a little bit sedentary. Just, hey, we're going to let Tyreek do his thing. We're going to let Travis do his thing. We're not going to make the run game hurt people. We're not going to blitz until they can't stop anybody. We're not going to change things up. I think all those things got a little bit stale, relying on the players on the field. And I think the coaching staff needed a boost, needed a refurbishment, needed an injection of adrenaline or something. You know what I mean? I think they got that on the offensive side in Matt Nagy, and they got that on the defensive side in Joe Cullen. And I think Cullen being the guy that can support Steve Spagnuolo, let Steve take a little bit more off. Now you got Daly with the linebackers. I think that takes a little bit more off. Lets him be a little bit more crazy, experimental, unpredictable. You want to be unpredictable on defense. That is the number one key. A lot of things that are not on the field that can affect what's on the field. That's what I'm really excited about. And as I've been going through some of this weekend, it's really stood out to me that this is an evolution of the entire team, meaning players, coaches, and front office. Because front office is going to have to be able to adapt as well. That's really what it's going to be, a whole organization moving forward in what is a less predictable, more creative, and maybe just a little bit looser kind of way. I'm looking forward to that. So that's my thoughts for Sunday Breakdown tonight. I'm going to take some of your questions, and then we'll get on with our evening. I just thank you guys for being here. 250 of us on a night where there's no ball game. So Sunday Breakdown's a little bit different, but hey, it is what it is. Terry, thank you for your question. I appreciate you being here. Is Matt the co-offensive coordinator or just the QB coach? I believe his title is QB and assistant to Andy Reid is what I think his title is. Let me check. I'm going to pull that up here right while we're talking, because you never quite know if I'm going to get that absolutely right or what. And titles are sometimes misleading anyway, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. Eric Bieniemy is listed as the offensive coordinator. Point blank, bottom line. Where is Matt Nagy listed? Let me find that. He's listed as senior assistant and quarterbacks coach. So that means he's a former head coach and offensive coordinator. That means he and Andy are going to be in the mix with EB. It's a triangle. It's not like, even though technically he probably reports to the offensive coordinator, It's all in there. It's all in the mix. So he's not just the quarterback coach. I guarantee you that. Although I am really looking forward to seeing after what we've heard about Mike Kafka contributing to Patrick and his preparation and his thought process. I think Matt Nagy is going to go that much farther because Matt's got a lot more experience, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Terry. Low lip. If Andy retires in the next 5 years, who do you think will be the next head coach? Who would you want it to be? Who do I think it will be? I don't think it'll be Eric Bieniemy. I'll tell you that. I think it's a possibility to be Matt Nagy, depending on what Matt does. I think Matt will eventually get another head coaching opportunity. Will he get one before it's in Kansas City? I don't know. That would be a mix. And there's always a possibility that they could go outside of that. But I would put my money on right now in 5 years that Andy Reid is probably still the coach. But if he's not, it'd probably be Matt Nagy is my thought. And who would I want it to be? I mean, you can make arguments for a lot of guys. Offenses are more and more deliberate. Will the other LaFleur step forward? I don't know. Will the magic of McVay's offense cool and he has to resettle? I don't know. I would probably lean towards right now. If I had my pick of a head coach right now on the offensive side, and I do think it has to be an offensive player. Until Patrick Mahomes has retired, I think you do want an offensive-minded head coach in the head coaching position. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'm so on the track that is always in Kansas City about moving up. Like that's going outside of it would be a little bit different. I'm guessing it would still be in the tree though of the experience. They went to Andy Reid because of the tree of what Vermeil had done over there and everything. Like there is a connection there. I don't think that will fade. Night Hunter, crazy idea, but maybe establish the run game before going Aaron Mahomes. Agreed. What an idea. Or not necessarily before. But you got to treat it as, hey, we could run it anytime too. And honestly, I think Clyde's 5.2 yards a carry for his career. That's not bad in any way, shape, or form. That's pretty dang good. And if you can be that kind of weapon where even if it isn't before, you don't have to establish these days, right? But you got to mix it up enough so you can hurt them when they go with light boxes or they go with deep coverage. They go 3 over the top over the time. If they go cover 4 ever, hurt them with the run. Next play, bam, bam, bam. It has to be more instinctual. It has to be more creative that way. And I think it has to flow a little bit better and go with what you're seeing. That's my thought. Jeremy, I assume that these shows, you don't stay in the news like some. Have you seen that Frank Clark workout video and does his frame bother you? No. I try not to overreact to the news. A lot of the news is hype. A lot of news is overreaction to social media. I haven't seen the video from Frank. I really try to look at this team from a coach's standpoint rather than what the player may be doing. I'd like to know what you think and what you mean by his frame bothering you. If he's lost more weight, then yes, that's a concern for me. I thought he played a little light last year. And that may be some of the issue. He's had multiple problems from shoulder to neck to lower body. He's had multiple problems that he has to deal with. And that's part of why we've seen him. If I would call it a decline, but even if you're someone who doesn't call it a decline, we certainly haven't seen him surge or improve in what should be the core part of his career in his second contract. That has been underwhelming to this point. So, yeah, I think I would be concerned if that's what you're saying. I'm sorry I haven't seen it yet. I'll try to look for it, Jeremy, and maybe I can comment tomorrow. When it's all said and done, what does Orlando Brown new contract look like money years? That's a great question. And I think with a new agent, and I'm going to try to talk to him. If I can get Porter on, I believe his first name's Don. I will try to have a conversation with him and see what we can find out and what he wants to say about Orlando. I think it's a difficult negotiating process when you're a first timer. So I think in the end, the Chiefs probably are able to keep the total cost down a little bit more than we thought. I think there'll be some grandstanding. If you're a brand new agent for a prime player, you want to get paid. I mean, more so than, you don't have the emphasis behind you like Drew Rosenhaus, but you want to make a statement, right? So it's going to be a push in the beginning. In the end, I think it comes in somewhere between 19 and 21. hovering right there around the 20 mark. And I think if Orlando wins, it's a 4-year contract. If the Chiefs wins, it's a 5. And that APY is probably offset by not as much guaranteed, and they get the structure that they want, meaning that they have a walkaway year after year 3. If Orlando wins, it's a 4-year contract in the 20 per year range, but with more guaranteed that they can't walk away from, and that's going to be the key. So at the end of the year, I think it's probably right around 5 years for 96, 98 mil. That's my thought. Doug, seems like EB was really excited and liking it. Yeah, like they had a good relationship when Matt was here before. I think they're a good tandem. And quite frankly, I think it takes some pressure off of EB because EB has not been known for being a quarterback whisperer or being a guy that runs, crazy design schemes. That's what Matt Nagy has done. So he gets a creative partner that then makes him look better too. So I think it's a win-win all the way around. And I think it helps the Chiefs on the field at the end of the day. Chad, thank you. Appreciate your support, buddy. And Doug, thank you as well. Any word on Sky's injury might set him back? Sure hope Kendo is up to the task. Sky Moore, I think it's just a soft tissue injury. I just don't think they're pushing it very much right now. I would expect that he doesn't really participate much this week. And that mandatory minicamp, when everybody's here and you're trying to get up and going, and if there's enough good faith from Orlando and his new representation, you could even see Orlando at mandatory minicamp because technically he hasn't signed the tag, so he's not being monetarily penalized for missing a mandatory camp. So I think there's opportunity there. And yes, that's one thing I'm going to look into. The Pass Rush Summit, I understand that Kendo, there's a rumor that he's attending. I haven't seen that confirmed from the people that run the Pass Rush Summit, but I hope so. If that's the case, you never know. Be with players rather than coaches in one-on-one, I think that has an ability, and I think Ben Schwartz would tell you for the offensive lineman, it sure does. I think that has a way to jumpstart your game plan and your perspective on the game a little bit faster, and I would certainly like to see that. So I think it'd be great for Kendo. If that happens, then that's really going to help them. Herring the same way. I'll have a little bit on them this week too. There has not been even a 1K rusher in the Super Bowl winner since the Patriots 28-3. I think that speaks to your running game is more important than our Bs. Do you think that continues? I do think that continues. And that feeds into my philosophy as well. The running game is more important than the running back. Yes, it's good to have explosive backs. Yes, it's good to have backs with super speed. But it's more important to have a running game that threatens the defense. Whether that's, running outside zone or running, power man inside, it doesn't matter. As long as you threaten the defense with your run and it's not a throwaway down or a down that the defense can just kind of blow off, it's the running game that makes more impact in terms of keeping teams honest and giving you opportunities later. I think traditional play action is going to go a long way in this particular season for Matt Nagy and Patrick Mahomes in order to get some of those creative things done. Traditional play action, not RPOs. I think that pulls the defense back in, and that's what they have to do in order to get explosive again, in my opinion. Doug, thank you. Wide receiver room is going to be a fight for roster spots. You're absolutely correct. And I'm really interested to see the way that it goes. Because I'm not amongst the media group. It's only top tier media that get into OTAs or even training camp as media to get in there and not only see but hear and talk to the players to get that inside perspective. That's why Matt Derrick's with us on Locked On Chiefs as much as possible. We'll try to have him on RGR this year as well. That's going to be key to see where everybody's coming along in those fights. I think it's going to be really, really entertaining. Thank you, Doug. Does the Chiefs have Orlando? Do the Chiefs giving Orlando what he wanted and a chance to play left tackle earn any goodwill from the contract negotiation? I think that it already has, in that if Orlando was trying to be like, I want every dollar from this team no matter what, he'd have gone with Drew Rosenhaus. He's got a connection. Drew represents multiple Ravens, represents Tyreek Hill. Like, he could have easily gone over there. I think the fact that he didn't mean that he's thinking a little bit more holistically. I don't really like the idea that he's thinking about his brand outside of football when this should be the focus of his life right here. That's just here or there. But I do think in the end, it is a little bit of a goodwill gesture, a goodwill kind of like, I feel I can work with these guys. I'm going to get the agent that I want, not necessarily the marksman that I should have. So that's my thought. Hi, Anita. Yep. Seth is on Thursdays, folks. I know some of you guys only come to the channel for Seth, but he's Thursday nights. Let's see here. Any other questions? I'm trying to wrap it up and just see. David, nothing specific. That's one of the things that I'm really trying to get a hold on this year. Now, the media get to watch one practice, but it's generally considered a lighter practice. They don't show you a whole lot. You get to see some drills. And from what I understand from the beat reporters that are present, they like what they're seeing from Malik Herring. But it isn't enough to know whether he's truly in a position to make a run at playing time yet. I don't think we'll know that until training camp. So I'm kind of holding off till there. So that's where I'm at today. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Thanks for being here on a Sunday night. Q&A live tomorrow night, same time, 6 Central, like we always do. And we'll go through everything. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more information by tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So cheers to you. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for all the support, all you super chatters, everybody's in the RGR store. Very, very thankful. We do have some things that I'm working on for the fall. New tweaks, maybe new voices around here as well. So make sure you check out Back Talk Bros with Stevie, Gooch, and Aaron. Make sure you check out Big Chief Sean's channel. Make sure you check out all the other ones around here. Everybody but chat, that's fine. Anyway, I hope that you guys have a good day and a good Monday and the start to the week. I'll talk to you tomorrow night for the Q&A live at 6. Have a good one.